Welcome one, welcome all to DeFi Crypto and Airdrops. I am Mike, aka Veteran Crypto, and I apologize for my lateness. Had a little bit of technical difficulties. We're trying to get Jake and David in here, but they're not able to join. So I'm just going to go ahead and drive on with the show. Apologize if I'm a little ill prepared. I usually have a couple of co-hosts, and we just kind of go back and forth and talk about what's going on in the markets, talk about DeFi. Hopefully, they're able to figure out how to get in here. But until then, let's go ahead and at least do some introductions. So let me go to here real quick. Let's see. All right. Make some adjustments since it's just me. Okay. So this is the DeFi Crypto and Airdrops main YouTube channel. If you want to join the conversation, go ahead and come on over here and jump on in. This is our brother channel. So you got Jeff over at the Blockchain Report, who specializes in airdrops. He's my co-host on Tuesdays and Fridays. You have Jake Call, who is usually on this show. He has a lot of great content over on his channel, so definitely make sure you give him a follow. He's also the creator of Metrics Finance. It is a free tool that you can use to track your DeFi portfolio and also simulate positions that you're thinking about getting into to get a better idea of if they are going to be profitable for you or not. There is a free version, and then there's added functionality. If you see that it's making you more money than it would cost for you to do the paid version, I definitely suggest that you start out with the free version, however, and work your way up as you see that again that it's saving you or making you more money than the $50 a month or whatever package you end up getting. Got Drew over at the Blockchain Basement, and TJ and DZ over at Discover Crypto, and of course David, who's usually on this show over at DeFi University. I already mentioned Metrics Finance. This is DeFi University, where David teaches. He has his community over there where they teach advanced strategies, how to hedge and create delta neutral positions in DeFi. It's basically a way to hedge your risk in your positions to kind of make sure that you stay profitable. For both of those, Metrics Finance and DeFi University, you can find links in the description of this episode and the description of our channel on YouTube. It doesn't cost you anything more to use our links. We just get a little bit of money for sending you their way, little bird dog. So it helps the channel out if you're thinking about doing it. Definitely a good way to go. And DeFi wise, this is the newsletter on Mondays. My brother Taylor, who's an estate lawyer, owns a couple of law firms and title companies down in Texas, and his business partner Jeff, who is a licensed, not a financial advisor, but basically the amount of credentials is the equivalent of becoming a lawyer. He's been doing it for decades, helping people build portfolios in TradFi. And we talk about markets on Mondays, just what's going on in the markets, if what the macro is, things like that. And then talk about wealth preservation. It's important that not just, figure out how to get rich in crypto or in investing, but what are you going to do with it once you get rich? How are you going to mitigate your tax burden? If you get sued or, something happens to you, who's going to get that wealth? These are all things that a lot of people don't think about. A lot of people just think, I want to get rich. I want to, win the lottery. I'm going to, invest in a meme coin. I'm going to make millions of dollars, win Lambo. They don't think about with that Lambo, the insurance. They don't think about, that huge house, the, property taxes. They don't think about the utilities. They don't think about the upkeep. They don't think about that. Sometimes capital gains can be 20 to 25%. There's a lot of factors you got to take in. If you just make a bunch of money in crypto and go out and spend it all and don't pay your tax bill, then they're going to come a knocking. The government is great at, knowing how much you owe. They're not going to tell you, but they're great at knowing. So anyway, my brother and I started this newsletter, and it is everybody that's been getting it has been raving about it. So we have a quant. This is the actual newsletter here for today. And basically, it just goes through and gives you a breakdown of what's going on today in the markets. First of all, it's the crypto markets, then TradFi markets. We give trading ranges for Bitcoin, Ethereum, Solana, Avalanche, and XRP. The trend bias, if it's bullish, neutral, or bearish. And as you can see, we've been nailing it. Ethereum, we called it out being bullish this morning, and as you can see, it's been moving with a bullish intent. A little bit of the macro over the next 3 months, what you can expect. I give a couple of ranges on some of the more popular pools. This wrapped ETH USDC pool has been printing money, and you can see, I gave out this range quite a while ago, and it's been in range for quite a while. And this is on the 4 hour. So each one of these little tiny candles that you can barely see, they are 4 hour candles. So again, these have been in range quite a bit since we gave these ranges. So that alone on any of these would pay the 1995. And again, this is Monday through Friday. I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, put all this together and send it out to you. And then of course we just have like little clips of, little news stories of what's going on in the markets. So it's a quick 5-10 minute read. Put your finger on the pulse of what's going on in the crypto markets. Let's go over here. So you're drinking your morning coffee, drinking your morning tea, and that 5 or 10 minutes, you're able to know what's going on with your investments, and know how to know how to navigate. Should you not get into the markets, that sort of thing. We're not live on YouTube. Let me check that out. Yeah, we're having some problems with. Yeah, no, I'm showing that we're live on YouTube. No, I'm not sure what's going on. Yeah, I just clicked on it and it says live. We're live on the Arena. We're live on Pump.Fun. We are live on all of the Twitters, and we are live on YouTube. So yeah, don't know what to tell you. Nick Dunn, how's it going, brother? I appreciate you looking out though. New name, I haven't seen that one. Saj the Gamage. All right, cool. I appreciate you. Good looking out, man. Big Lou, now you are. Sherlock the Trader. Yes, on YouTube. All right, cool. Nick Dunn, all good. Alexander. Well, well, look at this sexy beast. I'm wondering if that's my old buddy Alex. If that's you, Alex. Let me know. That's something he used to always tell me. He used to always call me sexy. No homo. But so yeah, let's go ahead and jump on into this. So we had the FOMC meeting earlier, and they talked about a quarter rate cut, or excuse me, for interest rates, 0.25, and it looks like quantitative easing is here on Friday, is going to start taking effect. I really wish David was on here because he'd be able to speak more intelligently on this. This isn't my wheelhouse, but that is good for markets. With quantitative easing, that means that the money printers get churned on. With interest rates down, it means that money is cheaper to borrow for businesses. Anybody that is wanting to take out loans, buy anything on credit, all of that, it just makes it cheaper. So that is good for markets potentially. Immediately the market's pumped, and since then, let's go ahead and pull up Bitcoin. And but since then, it pulled back a bit. Yeah, there we go. So, oh, we're on the 1 week. Let's go to the 15-minute. Yep. So you can see with the good news, it pumped, and then we immediately pulled back, and we're back to where we started. So pretty much what the markets have been doing for the foreseeable past is anytime we get good news or we think there's going to be good news, there's a pump, and pretty much immediately after it, kind of recoups those losses and puts us right back in the range that we were already in. So not a bad thing for DeFi, however. I know that a lot of my ranged positions, I have 3 ranged positions open right now that are all, let me actually pull that one up. Looks like one of them is just out of range. I got 2 wrapped ETH KTA positions with about 75% ranges. Let me actually see if I can bring that up real quick. I will actually show you my positions. So here you go. These are my 3 range positions that I have. I have a bunch of full range positions and other DeFi that I have open. But these right here, you can see this top one is a 72% range, and I'm only earning about $3 because it's earning 109% right now. But I'm earning $3 a day. Doesn't seem like a lot, but it's been earning like that for a couple of months now. So, and it's been as high as like 400 or 500% at some points when the markets start to heat up and we start getting volume and a lot of swaps going on. Oh, it's Mooks. Let's see. Oh, okay, Padre. Uh, and the fee tier is 1%. So yeah, I've been loving this thing. I've built up probably a couple $100 in the past month just on these 2 pools. This wrapped ETH BTC, I'm just wanting to keep exposure to Bitcoin and ETH, but at the same time, earn. It's again not a lot. It's right now it's only making 54 cents. I've seen it as high as like $2-3, but it's built up about $10 over the past couple of days. So again, I'm not going to get rich on this. This is just free crypto. I'm just looking to stack, keep exposure to those assets and just keep stacking those assets. So again, I entered this position with about 800. Let me actually look it up real quick. That's the great thing about Metrics Finance is I actually go to it and let me go to track. Doop-a-doop-doo. Let me actually here. I will just share that screen so you can see the. There you go. So you can see this. Which one is it? Where are we at? Here we go. So here is that wrapped ETH KTA position. So I initially, because here on Metrics Finance, you can see this is initially what I deposited, $935.94. My current liquidity, because of the movement of ETH and KTA, I now have $1,016.46. So I'm up just based off of the assets that I'm holding in this pool. Now I've earned an extra $82.40 on this position. And a bunch of it I haven't claimed, and then some of it I have claimed. So total, I have 160, almost $163 that I've earned on this in the past couple of weeks. So I have about a 17% ROI. Oh, here we go. It opened. I opened it November 24th. So what? That's about a week, coming up on 3 weeks. So in 3 weeks, I've earned just shy of 18%. So at that rate, six, we're looking at about 22% per month that I'm earning on this pool on average. So again, I don't have a ton of liquidity in these. This is just a small portion of my bags, but it is constantly earning me yield. And I'm compounding that back into my bags or into these positions so that I can keep earning while these markets do nothing, while they trend sideways and tease us, with these pumps and then retraces. I'm just earning 24/7, 365, no matter what the markets do. And then of course, I have full range positions. So, as you all know, I'm very transparent about my earning and stuff like that. So, I'll again, I'll show you some of my other positions. So here's my full range wrapped ETH BTC position. I got about $4,244 in that one. And again, not earning a ton. It's earning me 3%. But, over the past, couple of weeks, I have earned about $10 of free, free ETH and Bitcoin. Now, add to that, I got that Coinbase card and switched all my bills over to that. My utility bills when I get gas, when I get groceries, my for my X account, whenever that $10 a month you pay for the blue check mark, pretty much anything, any bill that I have that I can put on a credit card, I put it on that thing, and that's earning me a couple $100 in free Bitcoin a month. So basically, just all these little things add up. So $100 there, $100 here. I'm making just off these couple of positions and my Coinbase card and a couple other things, a little over an extra $1,000 a month in free crypto. And that's not my entire bags of these assets. That's just a small portion of those bags. So, these are the kind of things that I'm trying to teach people, the baby steps of, not aping into these high APR positions with super narrow ranges to where you get destroyed with, divergence loss and impermanent loss. Yeah, it's not as sexy to be in a full range position. It's not as sexy, to, not, going after meme coins that are 9,000% APR. But no matter what happens in those ranged positions, like the wrapped ETH KTA, I'm bullish on both those projects. If I end up with all KTA, I'm okay with that. That's the liquidity that I use to open these positions. That just means I'm going to have a bigger bag of KTA. If I end up in all ETH, I'm okay with that too. I'm bullish on ETH long term, more so than KTA. But again, I'll just end up with a bigger bag of, of ETH. My Bitcoin, let me get this out of the way. My other wrapped ETH Bitcoin position, my ranged one. If it goes out of range on one end, I'm going to end up with a bunch more ETH. If it goes out of range on the other end, I'm going to end up with a bunch more Bitcoin. Two projects I'm very bullish on. Or two assets I'm very bullish on. That is the key to being successful in DeFi. What do we got here? Hey, what's up, Mr. Tech? Uncle Tommy just started a wrapped ETH universal soul pool on Arrow. Yeah, I'm super bullish on that. That new bridge, Uncle Tommy, between Base and Solana, I feel like it's more bullish for Base than it is for Solana, however. Just because of Aerodrome. Aerodrome is so much bigger than most of the DeFi platforms on Solana, and is about to get a lot bigger. Q2 of next year when the new Aerodrome platform goes live, and it's multi-chain. It's across 10 or more different chains. There's going to be a lot more volume. There's going to be a lot more liquidity. You're going to have the integration with the Base app and the Coinbase platform. You're going to have a bunch of new offerings, institutional offerings. It's going to be a beast. And I dare say that it's going to give Uniswap a run for its money. That's my personal opinion. But yeah, there's a lot of really good pools with Sol assets on Aerodrome now. Yeah, I know, right? Only 100% APR. It's if you don't get greedy and you stick with pools that are assets that you're bullish on long term, that you're trying to build bags of anyway, you're not going to get as emotional if it goes out of range. But if you're in three-legged dog meme coin and in tripod, you're as the asset pairs, and you end up with a bunch of those assets and you're not earning yield, that's not a good thing. I mean, obviously, unless that, obscure meme coin does, 1,000x or something, but odds of that happening are slim to none. So stick to assets that you're bullish on long term, that if it goes out of range, if you're in a ranged pool, that you're okay with, if you don't rebalance, because a lot of times I don't. Because again, if it goes out of range, I'm basically hodling a bag of something I'm bullish on anyway. I just wait for it to come back into range. If that asset pumps, it means it underperformed against the other asset. So that's why you have a bag of that. As soon as that asset pumps, so like my wrapped ETH, I had a bunch of wrapped ETH there for a while, and no Bitcoin, because Bitcoin was outperforming ETH. But I knew eventually ETH was going to outperform Bitcoin, and it has in a big way. I'm almost all in Bitcoin now because ETH is out pumping Bitcoin. These are the nuances to DeFi that are going to help you be successful, as opposed to somebody who is trying to get rich quick. DeFi is a marathon, not a sprint. If you want to get rich quick, use a small portion of your liquidity and chase a meme coin or do a leverage trade. You're going to potentially, you're going to make a lot more money a lot faster in those. DeFi is for calculate. Lost you there for a minute. So yeah, David is great at earning and living off of the yield he earns every month. It's his sole means of income, as far as I know. I don't get into his personal affairs, but he's very vocal about he's totally debanked, or not debanked, but he's removed himself from the traditional banking system. He uses stuff like EtherFi and the card that they offer, and he makes all of his income off of his DeFi and does very, very well for himself. So there is a lot of different strategies that you can use to either build your bags, live off the yield, and it really, how you build your portfolio out is going to depend on what your financial goals are. For me and for Jake, we're trying to build our bags. Jake has his businesses, Metrics Finance and Luminary Assets, this consulting business that he makes the money that he lives off of. I have my retirement and other investments that I live off of. I don't cash out any of my yield. All of my yield goes back into building my bags and investing in new projects as they emerge. That is episode 8 on our YouTube channel. it talks about what I'm talking about right now, building your portfolio based off your risk tolerance, how much risk you're willing to take, and what your financial goals are. Those are the first two questions you need to ask yourself, because it's going to dictate how you build out your portfolio and what types of assets that you might want to get exposure to. Let's go through the questions real quick here, if there is any. Black Ice, my man, just found out CoinW is no longer US friendly. They're trying to make you KYC. Yeah. VPN is your friend, and but at the same time, KYC is a tough one, because it happened with me. I was using KuCoin for a long time, and before I got into DeFi, what kind of wet my whistle with it is KuCoin was awesome with being able to earn, through staking and lending on their platform. It was awesome. I used to love that, and then they KYC'd me, and so I, had to move on to other platforms. But yeah, unfortunately, I think that's going to become more and more common for platforms to stay in compliance and not come under the scrutiny of regulators. Hey, chat, do not let me forget to vote on my arrow lock. I'm going to get talking and I'm going to forget. All right, what else we got here? Black Ice, $1,000 in the back earning less than 1%, or $1,000 in DeFi full positions earning 4% plus. Yeah, it's a no-brainer for me. I think the least amount that I'm earning right now is that 3% in that full range wrapped ETH BTC, Coinbase wrapped BTC pool. On average, I make between 30, I'd say 30 and 60%. For me, that's the sweet spot. If I can make 30 to 60%, I mean, think about it. If you end up making, if our bags ever pump and you have $100,000, if you're making 30 to 60%, you're making $30,000 to $60,000 a year off that $100,000. You can make 25 to 30% pretty consistently in a full range arrow pool. Granted, that is a USDC arrow pool, and arrow, as we all know, is a volatile asset. We've seen $2.20, and we've before it got its pump up to that, it was down in the 30-cent range. So, there's a lot of movement there. But if you're only using small portions and you're diversifying, if you're lending out part of a good portion of that $100,000 into lending it in USDC, there is a bunch of places you can earn 10 to 20%. Hell, on Coinbase, you can lend it out for 7% with relatively no risk. But with a little more risk, there are platforms that you can make 10 to 20%. So let's do some quick math. I'll just do it in my head. Let's say you just put half in USDC and you're earning 10%. So that's $5,000. So, and then the other 50%, say that you're earning, we'll say an average of 50%. You go a little riskier. So you're making 25 grand on that. So total, you're making $30,000 a year off that $100,000. 50% of it is in a stable coin. That's guaranteed money. And that value, unless the dollar crashes, isn't going anywhere. The rest of it, depending on what asset you put it in. I mean, Arrow, I'm bullish on long term. I'm stacking my locks and stacking my Arrow bags as much as I can, as fast as I can. We've already seen the flight school bonuses from when I started back in the day, over a year ago, where I got my first Arrow lock. My flight school bonus was like 50% of my initial lock. The last one I did a couple of weeks ago was like 15%. So there's a lot of people doing locks now because a lot of people are getting bullish on Arrow with what's going on with it, institutional, adoption, and how it's going to be integrated into Coinbase and the new platform and multi-chain, and just all the things that are going along with it. Excuse me. So there's only so much Arrow that is being minted for flight school. So the more people that are locking, the thinner that's being spread out. So it used to be just us degens. Now, you got people putting millions and millions of dollars into locks and max locking it because they're earning 30%, APR that compounds weekly. I started out with 5,100 Arrow in my initial lock. Again, full transparency here. I don't sugarcoat anything. I don't try to pump my numbers. But this almost 7,000 Arrow started out as 5,100. So I'm coming up on 2,000 in the past year, 2,000 free Arrow just from compounding yield. So if you do the math, what would be 2,000 of, my head's not working right now. But 2,000 Arrow, off of that 5,100. Now, the flight school bonus I got is, where's that bad boy at? This one, 3,824. This is all 100% free. I got that as a flight school bonus, and that for the past year has been compounding. That started out as, what was it, 2,600? 51. Yeah. It started out as 2,600 because it was roughly 50% of my 5,100. So that one I got about little over 1,200 free Arrow in the past year. So I've made 3,200, and just roughly 3,200 free Arrow just from locking up in the past year, just from locking up that 5,100. The rest of it was free money. And if you count the flight school bonus, it's even more than that. So anyway, you get my point. So a couple of weeks ago, I locked up another 2,500. Since then, I've made about 100 free Arrow because I have almost 2,600 now. And in the flight school bonus, the 15% that I got was about 380 or 385, something like that. And so I've earned another 4 Arrow last week on that. But again, it doesn't seem like a lot, but it compounds. So total, let me actually pull up my little tracker sheet. And yes, I still do use my old. There's some things Metrics Finance can't do. And this is one of them. So this is where I track my locks. So you can see, back, in June, I was tracking how much Arrow I had total, and then I can type in what the current price is, and it gives me the dollar value of of my Arrow. So you can see I changed it up here a little bit, because I added those new locks and whatnot. But I am waiting to see what I end up with today. But I'm about to pass 20,000 tokens, Arrow tokens. So, I almost have 20,000 Arrow. And so do the math. I'm expecting Arrow in the coming years. I don't see it anytime in the near future. I could be wrong. But I easily see Arrow going to $5 or $10, in the future. With the platform they're building out, the new platform, the way it's going to be integrated, into all these different systems, these bridges, the interoperability, all these different things. I can easily see Arrow going to $5 or $10. If it did that, like here, let's just put that in this little box here. If it went to $10, just right now, if Arrow was $10 right now, I'd have almost $200,000 worth of Arrow. This is a big what if. Granted, I'm just trying to give you an idea of how powerful it is to find these projects and build bags of them ahead of time. Whenever it's like buying Bitcoin at the beginning. back when it was like $10 or $100, as opposed to trying to stack Bitcoin now. You know, you have to have the vision and the foresight to be able to identify these strong projects and build bags of them before the price goes crazy. Because once the price goes crazy and you're trying to make turn $1,000 into life-changing money, it's it's not going to have the same impact. You have to take the risk, but you want to make calculated risks. So again, with Arrow, I saw the writing on the wall. I saw what Coinbase was building. When they came out with the base network, it is DeFi and RWA focused. If you look at everything on there, of course you got memes, ignore those. But everything being built on base network is geared toward institutional grade DeFi and RWAs. You got Aerodrome, you got Morpho. Morpho is what is Coinbase is using for their Ethereum and their Bitcoin loans, on their platform. You have Moonwell, you have KTA, you have Avantis, you have Mamo, you have a lot of these different projects that are launching on the base network. I personally think that base network and Ethereum are the future of DeFi and RWAs. Could that change? Absolutely. Could I be wrong? Absolutely. But I'm putting my money where my mouth is. My largest bag by far is Aerodrome. I, for a while, was selling off Arrow because it was too big of a bag to buy into other projects. But every time I turned around, because of how well it earns, these locks and my other positions. Oh shit! I need to vote. Let's see. Where we at? Where we at? Aerodrome. There you are. All right. We're gonna vote real quick, and then I'll get back on that train of thought. So a bunch of mine, I'll show you real quick. A bunch of mine are in the VE Aero Maxi Relay. So they're going to automatically vote. And right now that's making about 24% APR. I'm cool with that. I'll let that sit there and autopilot and just mint me money for the, up and, until this next, platform launches. And then I might start harvesting, once Aerodrome does something. I'm counting on this Aerodrome investment to be monthly income at some point. Again, if it goes to $10, let's do some quick math before I vote, because I still got a couple of minutes. Let's say it goes to $10, and we'll just, for a good round number, it's $200,000. Let's say, just to be conservative, I make 20%. If I can make 20% on average on that $200,000, that's $40,000 a year that I would make just off of those locks that I can cash out, every week. And let's divide that by 12. So that's an extra $3,333 a month that I would get purely off of my Arrow locks. If Arrow was, that's what I'd be making right now. If Arrow was $10, a token, that's what I would be pulling in. So yeah, that's the way my mind works, is I'm trying to build these positions to where it just makes me money, to where I can sit on a beach somewhere. I can be sitting on the cliff here on my property with a beer, watching the view, over the valley, and just be making money. That for me is what DeFi is. Because before this, my money was sitting in the bank, making me nothing. And I'm going to start running my mouth again, and I'm going to forget to freaking vote. All right, let's go vote. All right. So the best VAPR that we have right now, actually, this isn't a bad one. I like, this is Arcadia Finance. That's another DEX on Base Network. So you know what? We're going to vote on that. So let's do 0%. on that one. And we'll do 100% on that one. So that's going to make me about 1650 of free arrow. So let's vote on. Come on, you can do it. Let's close some of these. Let's refresh. There we go. That'll probably work a little better. All right. Let's select that. Let's vote for Arcadia Finance. Confirm. Only cost me 1 cent. All right. And that's it. I just voted. So I'll end up getting paid out in USDC and Arcadia, AAA. And I might hold on to that. I do have a little bit of AAA staked on their platform, and it's earning for me. In fact, you know what? Let's go take a look at that. I haven't checked that in a while. Coinbase. All right. So yeah, I got 612 staked AAA. And that earns about 9%. So, again, not a lot, but this Arcadia that I end up getting, I guess you see, I've earned 23.36 just off that small amount that I have in there, that 612. So I'll probably claim that and add it to the AAA that I'm getting for voting on it. And it might be like $20 or something like that, and stick it in there. Because who knows? This Arcadia Finance, might end up pumping, once if Coinbase, ends up making it part of their ecosystem, more a part of their ecosystem, then the price could pump on it. And the couple $100 I got might be a couple $1,000, and then I'm earning 10%, a little trickle from here. I have my locks that I'm earning, the 20-30% there. Liquidity pools where I'm making, the KTA wrapped ETH one, I'm making 114% right now. The wrapped ETH Bitcoin one just pumped up to 83%. So I'm making 83% for basically hodling wrapped ETH and Coinbase wrapped Bitcoin. So this is DeFi. This is what I'm screaming in the chats to everybody that's complaining about this sideways boring market that are selling their bags and getting out of crypto. Is the whole time that these markets were dumping, and the whole time that these markets have been going sideways, I've just been earning. I'm not getting rich, but I'm stacking these projects that I believe in, and it's just adding to my bags. And over time, depending on what these projects do, some of these projects are probably going to go to zero. But other ones, all I need is a project like Aerodrome to do something, and I'm set. I have my Bitcoin holdings, I have my ETH holdings, I have a massive bag of Arrow, and all I need is for one or two of these projects to do well, and I'm going to double or triple my retirement income. I'll be making $20,000-$30,000 a month if any of these projects do anything like I expect them to do. And that's just mailbox money. And that's money I can reinvest in real estate. That's, I can buy gold or silver. I have a bunch of silver I bought at $12 during COVID, when, silver took a dump. I bought a bunch of 1 kilo stackers that I have in my safe. It's I bought them at $12. Last I looked, silver was at like 62. So, that was a great investment for me. Plus, not to mention, I mean, I've been stacking collectible silver coins and rounds and stuff like that since I was a kid. So, that's something I've been investing in my whole life. But back to my point is, if you have a disciplined, unemotional mindset and you stop focusing on the price and you look at these projects and what is being built, the connections, the fundamentals, and you invest in the right projects, are all of them going to be winners? No. My personal loser, it was Casper. By far, my biggest loser was Casper. I was stacking Casper like crazy and had it staked, earning 16%. Could it still pump? Absolutely. I have sold a good amount of my Casper. I have a moon bag. That's about all I have left. I moved my Casper, I cut my losses, and moved into Arrow and some other projects, because I'm a lot more bullish on those projects than I am Casper. Casper's meeting with the right people. They're trying to make the right moves, but I just don't see anything being built. Nothing has materialized. Every time they talk about, hey, this, is being built out, it just never materializes. Love the team, love their enthusiasm, but enthusiasm doesn't pay the bills. So I'll admit it. Casper, that I was bullish on forever, was a bad call. But other than that, most of the things that, on average, of course, I mean, everything's down, but on average, the projects that I have been stacking have held up relatively well compared to other alts. Aerodrome, being one of them. Ondo is another one. What is some of the other ones? Plume. Plume is down, but again, fundamentally strong. They just got listed today on Coinbase. Price isn't reflecting that, of course, but Plume was listed on Coinbase. Plume is building. They have a massive ecosystem. They have over 230 projects either live or being built on Plume. Massive RWA platform. There is interoperability, connections, bridges for liquidity, from the base network, through Morpho and a couple of other platforms. It eludes me right now which ones those, some of the other ones. With all the different projects, it's sometimes I get my wires crossed, so I apologize. But yeah, Plume has a bunch. Actually, you know what? Let's just do this real quick. This is a really easy way for me to uncross my wires. So Plume, Plume, Abu Dhabi. They ended up getting a. Yeah, here we go. Live on Coinbase. This Nest protocol. There is a bunch of funds, like for commodities, things like that, tokenized funds from BlackRock, Black Opal, Fidelity, Wisdom Tree, a bunch of different ones on the Plume network that you can invest in tokenized stocks, tokenized commodities. Already live. They were one of the first that made it live to where people like me and you could invest in them. What else? What else? This altitude. Oh, never mind. I'd have to dig into that one. Quietly building the infrastructure and regulatory foundation for Plume. They got approval of their U.S. transfer agent license in the Middle East. So this as a regulatory license that they have to be able to operate in Abu Dhabi and the Middle East. So it places Plume alongside BlackRock, Deutsche Bank, QCP Group, and others. They're in the room with U.S. regulators. They opened their office in Manhattan in the financial district. It's they are aligning themselves. The stablecoin PUSD is backed by USDC. They launched on Arc Network, which is Circle's network that they launched. So these are that is the web of a lot of these different projects that I'm watching of how they are connecting to each other and who is connecting with who. Because if something is off on its own, if it's a cipher in the snow and it's not connected to other chains, if it's not interoperable, if nobody's building on it, that's not something that you want to be investing your money in. You want to be investing your money where the institutions are investing their money, where the institutions are building. It's, yes, is the price of Plume bearish? Absolutely. When I got in, it was 15 cents, 12 to 15 cents. It's sitting at like 2.5 cents right now. But the entire market's down. I'm not worried about it. I'm just stacking more Plume because when it does take off, because that's what I see happening, I'm going to be sitting pretty. What else we got going on? There was some other stuff. Glider. That was the other base network project is Glider. So that is another basically bridge of liquidity between Plume Network and Base Network. Plume and Solana. Plume is bridging real-world yield to Solana. 5 institutional-grade Nest credit vaults are launching with assets from Wisdom Tree Funds, Hamilton Lane, Black Opal, Securitize, and Superstate. We're bridging stable, transparent, real-world yield to 20 million plus users. This is the kind of thing I'm investing in. I don't care what the price does. Short term, of course. Of course, I want it to go up. But right now, we are at that point to where a lot of these projects that are vaporware, again, I unfortunately have to put Casper in that bucket until the fundamentals change. If something happens that changes that, I might change my tune. But a lot of these projects that exist right now, a lot of them are going to go away. 90% or more are going to go away. I'm looking for those gems, that 5 to 10% that have things going on like Plume has going on. There is no other project out there in RWAs as far as a portal or a platform or a network of DEXs that focuses so deeply on RWAs and has live DEXs to where you can invest in these tokenized assets. Plume is the only one. There's plenty of tokenization projects, but Plume is one of the only, if not the only, and I dare say the biggest, that actually offers these tokenized assets to retail, like me and you, to where we can go and invest in these. And again, there's like 230 different platforms, either live or being built. So anyway, we can probably move on from that. Let's see what chat has to say. Somebody using dirty words in my chat. I think the link's on this YouTube page. Not sure what that is. Robert, XRP, don't get me started, man. Yeah, I'll start ranting, and if you're bullish on XRP, you might not be when I'm done. So, yeah, and it's not FUD, it's fundamentals. It's so yeah. If you want me to, I'll get into that, but I'm gonna move on. Yeah, yeah, it's going to $100. uh, um, Keaton, how to learn? I'm guessing you're talking about DeFi. Um, if you go to our YouTube channel, if you want to just start, getting started with your education, it's totally free. Go through the DeFi Academy. It basically, episode one. I used to be a military instructor, so I do things very simply. If you watch any of our shows, we have a lot of very, very smart people that are a lot smarter than me in finance and DeFi on here. I'm the one that is the host that helps dumb things down and makes things a lot more understandable. Because when they start talking about like deltas and gammas and delta neutral positions and things like that, a lot of people just glaze over. And it used to be me as well, because I'm like, what in the hell are they talking about? When they're talking about divergence loss, it's like, what in the hell is that? That's what this is for. This is going to help you, understand basically what is DeFi, what hot and cold wallets are, what tools do I use to do my DeFi, and I might need to update some of these. Um, stop wasting gas, DeFi aggregators, things like VFAT that make it easier for you to invest in DeFi. The ins and outs of Aerodrome, what locks are, what the flight school bonus is. This is a great place to start. One that I probably should have done earlier on is this building your DeFi portfolio, episode 8. Definitely watch that before you invest in DeFi at all, because what I call the foundation of a good DeFi portfolio is staking, lending, and full range positions. Because no matter what, you are always going to be earning yield with those. And as long as you're in good, solid projects like, Bitcoin, Ethereum, in my opinion, Aerodrome, Chainlink, things like that, you're going to be consistently building, larger bags of those. And in full range positions, yes, if the price pumps, you're not going to get full price appreciation. But when the price is going down and when the price is going sideways, or when the price is going down, you're not losing as much money as if you were just hodling. Because one, you've been earning yield the whole time. And if the markets are going sideways, then you're just consistently stacking bags more. So it doesn't matter what the market does, up, down, sideways, in a full range position, staking and lending, you're just always earning. So it is a great foundation to to uh, to build your DeFi portfolio on, and then use smaller bits of your liquidity to do range positions. And again, I would suggest wider ranges, because you're going to earn less APR or less yield, but you're going to stay in range longer. And so you're going to be consistent. You're not going to have to rebalance to keep earning. And I know a lot of this might be, Greek, but watch the DeFi Academy and it will all make sense. I promise you. And another great place to join is our Discord. So actually, you know what? Let me show you that. Let's click in here real quick. Are we not live? Holy crap. What is going on with the stream? Yeah. Looks like on one of the channels. All right. So we will go to another one. It says we're live, but I don't think we are. You want to say that you want to send money. We'll use. Let's go to. If you go to any of our shows, this one included, you can actually go to the description the hell is going on with? Oh, here we go. You have all the links, and so you can join the DCA Discord right here, and there is a whole army of people in there that, myself included, that are willing to answer questions for you. So go through the DeFi Academy and learn what you can from there, and take notes if you have stuff that you have questions about. If you have any questions, just pop into the Discord, and happy to help you. Discord, our Discord's pretty clean. We keep our house clean, but there are scammers. If anybody asks for access to your wallet, if they ask for a seed phrase, if they try to direct message you, unless you message them first or whatever, but just be very careful. There's a lot of scammers out there, but again, the Discord's a great place. I don't know what's going on with this freaking stream today. Yeah, now it's back up again. All right. Well, anyway, so let's go through some more of these questions. So this is the Discord, the DCA Discord. I was waiting on this upcoming live. All right. Hey, how's it going, RM3450? Hey, what happened to my question? Just realized it disappeared. What is your question, Seawild? Oh, Sack Nasty. What up, brother? XRP will do anything to survive, to be honest. Yeah. Crypto Maniac. Hey, what's up, brother? Oh, yeah, okay. Crypto Maniac 1776. All right. Well, I mean, we could probably freaking end this stream with all the technical difficulties, but yeah, I was just wanting to wanting to jump on here and just kind of give everybody a little bit of an update on what's going on, and what's how DeFi is playing out. But if you have any questions, again, just come on over here to the DeFi Crypto and Airdrops Discord, and we're happy to answer any questions you got. Looks like people are dropping some Arrow Alpha in here. Yeah, 665,000 Arrow buyback. This is a big part of why I'm bullish on Arrow. Since October, more than 5 million Arrow tokens have been bought back and max locked into the public goods fund. This makes a huge difference with the price of the token, because it essentially takes tokens out of circulation. And being max locked, it's there's no way that they can be dumped on the market. So yeah, I love this about Aerodrome. Yeah, no, I'm very glad that I have a very nice bag of Arrow. Let's see what we got in the DeFi pools. These are the ranges I used tonight and tomorrow. I might open a small hedge to protect myself from the downside. See, and Scotty D, he's one of our mods. Great resource to talk to. He's one of the ones that has learned about trying to create delta neutral positions, hedging. So what he's talking about here is he entered into a range position, but he's talking about opening a small short, basically, from the looks of it, or maybe a long. Depending on how the chart looks later, as the daily is forming a toppy or a bearish candle. All right. So yeah, basically what he's doing is looking at creating a trading position from the looks of it, to where he would hedge to protect himself. Yeah, I'd have to talk to him, see what it is he's doing here. I'm not fully understanding. So anyway, but he's one of the ones that you could talk to, and like right now, I could ask him. I can just say, hey, can you clarify a bit on what you're doing here? And here pretty quickly he'll probably get back to me and basically simplify what it is he's trying to do. So again, this is a great resource. Our Discord is free. Metrics Finance, there's a free version. Plenty of free alpha over here on DeFi University. All of these links are in the description of this episode and on our channel, all of our episodes and our channel. Ton of free content. The DeFi University, DeFi Academy on our channel. Use these resources. Learn DeFi, even if you don't deploy any liquidity. Even if it's just, for you, it's just too risky. I get it. But educate yourself, because DeFi is going to be part of the future financial system. And if you don't understand how it works, you are going to be at a huge disadvantage. And the earlier that you can get into this, the more profitable it's going to be for you. Like I was mentioning before with the arrow locks, the more people that get involved in DeFi, the yield is going to go down. The flight school bonuses have gone from 50% to 15% because of the amount of people getting involved. The more people the more liquidity that's provided in a liquidity pool, it makes the APR go down because there's more people providing liquidity. Unless the volume or the amount of people using that liquidity goes up, with it, in a correlated fashion, then the amount you can earn is going to go down. So the demand has to keep pace or outpace the supply. I hope that makes sense. But anyway, do I hold Ondo? Yes, I have a very nice bag of Ondo, if I don't say so myself. Yeah, I got about 4 or 5 grand worth of Ondo that I'm hoping does something, because Ondo is a great project. Fundamentally, they're doing great things. The price, not so much. But again, pretty much everything out there, the price hasn't really been doing anything stellar. So anyway, I'll cut it off at that. I could talk for hours about this stuff, but I'm gonna go get something to eat and do my second workout. So again, if you haven't, learn DeFi. We have plenty of free resources here. There is no excuse. All you have to do is take the time, and if you're truly wanting to change your financial future, then, you have to invest in yourself. You have to invest in your knowledge. Pretty much everything in life, success-wise, boils down to investing in knowledge, and that takes time and discipline. So the more that you do, the more that you educate yourself, the more discipline you have, over your emotions, the more successful that you're going to be in investing, in DeFi or, crypto or traditional or whatever. So anyway, tweaking orange. Have a good day, brother. And Crypto Maniac 1776, you have a good night as well. And until next time, Veteran Crypto out.